All right, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle with another episode of Hillsborough and Hunterdon Real. Here with my good friend Randee Staats. So Randee is somebody that I've known since we first opened the first facility in 2011. So Randee, first of all, thanks for being with me, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Kyle. It's an honor, man. A pleasure.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this. So why don't you kind of just give everybody a little background as far as talk a little bit about your family life, talk about where you guys are living now, and then we'll kind of dive into your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody. My name's Randee Staats. Like Kyle said, wow, 2011, man. Time flies.
Yeah, almost 10 years. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy. We recently moved from Jersey City over to, I guess you'd call it the suburbs right now. We're in South Plainfield. We're in a transition period because we're looking to buy a house with obviously everything going on. My fiance, she is a wonderful teacher at the New York City school systems, and she's a speech pathologist and an adjunct professor for NYU and Monmouth University. So it's good to be back home. I've as much as Jersey City was nice, it's good to see familiar faces like yourself, and just the familiarity of where you grew up, and be closer to family and friends.
Cool, man. My apology. I called her your wife because you had told me your in-laws, and that threw me off because Devin was asking,
Yeah.
"Did they marry you?" They must have got married. I don't even know.
No, it's okay. We were supposed to get married this past July, and obviously with the entire pandemic, we pushed it to this upcoming July. So soon
Okay.
to be wife. At this point, it's my wife, I feel like.
Yeah. Common law. Yeah. So talk about, I remember when I want to talk about your story, how far you've evolved and progressed. When you first came to Newell Strengt back in 2011, at that point, you were kind of looking to get into reality TV, correct?
Yeah. I was kind of before the whole reality TV bubble hit. I blew out my knee, so my ACL meniscus, and I was referred to you to get my knee fixed. And we were also doing the reality television stuff. So it was crazy how I came in and I was just like, oh, hey, what's up, Kyle? Yeah, I just fixed my knee, man. I need to look good. And you know, fast forward almost 10 years later, I'm still, I guess, fixing my knee.
Yeah, man, it feels like it was yesterday, and it's been a good time, man. But it's okay. So growing up, you went to Denellen High, correct?
Yep.
What sports did you play there, Randee?
So I was a baseball player. I did football and wrestling, but baseball was my number one sport.
Baseball was what position did you play?
Second base.
Second base. And you played all through high school?
All through high school, from God, when I could first walk, probably like from like T-ball all the way up to high school.
Nice. Talk about what you learned in your years playing baseball as far as maybe impactful coaches you had. What did you learn about discipline, about overcoming adversity? Talk about, how that your baseball years kind of molded some of your mindset.
Yeah, growing up early, prior to even getting into sports, my dad would tell me this one thing. He goes, if you sign up, you don't quit. No matter how much you hate the sport, no matter how bad the season is, no matter if you hate the people or the coaches, you're going to finish that season, and then you could do something else, but you will not quit that entire season. So that's been impactful from day one all the way up to my current years in life right now. And it taught me so many lessons, because that, not knowing it as a young kid, but you look back now, it taught you how to be charismatic, how to persevere, how to just kind of grit your teeth and keep going. And it really just taught you that determination to say, well, if I'm going to do something that I necessarily don't want to do, I'm going to be out of my comfort zone. And that's where you grow the best, right? And that makes you grow as an individual. And at such an early age, my dad told me that. And 35 years later, it still sticks with me like yesterday. So that's what I loved about baseball. And I just love the fact that it was a team sport, right? So not only are you putting in the hard work, and you're training in the winter and playing fall ball and going to practices, but you have to really unite as a team. And you'll notice, even in the World Series, not the best talent wins. It's the team that clicks the best and understands each other. And that's what I love about it, because it's such a team effort, and you have the guys just picking you up and, moving you forward. So it's been super impactful. And I love sports. I mean, even to this day, in the business that I do, we love the structure of people that were in sports, because they know that they have structure, they have determination, and they have that will to succeed, and that drive to get up there and go. And they're in a system, and that's what you want, because the systems, as you know, are what make you valuable in life.
Yeah, that reminds me of a quote that Dax taught me: "Our systems will protect your dreams."
Yep.
Right in line with what you're saying. So you learned all that stuff from baseball, the discipline and perseverance. I remember, you meeting Drew at the gym at, I don't even know what the hell time you guys would go there, midnight or something, to do sled drives.
Midnight sled drags, man.
Midnight
Friday
sled
night,
drag.
midnight sled drags.
What was that about? Tell people that story.
So Drew is a good dude, man. He's shout out to Drew. He's such a good dude, and it was funny. I feel like Drew will tell you I'm the little brother he never really wanted. And we were just kind of hit it off. I know Drew was training for a bodybuilding contest at that time. And, I was just young, hungry, and wanting to get in the best shape of my life. And he offered one day, because I'd see him at late night sessions at Newell Strengt. And he'd say, "Hey, man, I'm doing sled drags. You want to come?" So I showed up, and I just kept showing up. And we would strap on the sleds, two 45-pound weights each, and just go up and down. Was it Eileen Court there for 10 times. And it's 11 o'clock at night. And, at that time I was like, oh, well, Drew's training for a bodybuilding contest. Let me go do a Tough Mudder. So, I did that training, and I'll never forget. I asked you, I was like, Kyle, I got to do this Tough Mudder. I hate running. It's 15 miles. You're like, oh, you're not going to run at all. You're going to take a sled and you're going to drag it. And I was like, what? You're like, yeah, it expands your lungs. And I was like, dude, you're nuts. And sure as anything, man, I was the number one guy on the team, because I wasn't losing stamina. It was, dragging the sleds forward and backwards. And God, I think we did it probably for a mile each night, three, 4 times a week. And it was a cool bonding experience with Drew. And, I never forgot about that. And I always think about that when I see his posts and stuff. And we had a good time, man. And you don't realize at the time stuff like that that's so impactful. So, he extended his hand to say, hey, why don't you do this? And I took it. And, very grateful and, honored to share that moment with him. And it taught me a different lesson at life. It doesn't matter, no matter what time or what day or how old somebody is. If somebody's going to teach you something, always surround yourself with people that you respect and want to be and want to get to that level where they are, so you can level up. So I would say that's probably what I learned from that lesson.
Yeah, and what's cool, what I'm thinking of as you're relaying those memories and experiences. So you and Drew crossed paths, and kind of similar. He was trying to figure out exactly what path he wanted to take next in life. And then also another guy. So now obviously Drew's down in New Orleans, started his own fitness business, doing great down there. Got to catch up with him a couple weeks ago, you saw. Yep. But another guy that you kind of came in with was Carl Sanfilippo, and now Carl's just crushing it. So talk about how Carl impacted you, because at the time he was just starting what he was doing. Now he's this mogul. We're lucky that he talks to us. But
yeah, he's a big Remax mogul, man. If anybody needs to sell a house, please call Carl over there at Remax. He is he's absolutely awesome. And yeah, I mean, Carl and I just, how when you just click with people, that's kind of how Carl and I were. We were kind of into the same stuff. I'll never forget, he showed up to the gym in this shiny BMW X5, and I was like, oh, that guy's got it. And we're a couple of years older, and we just hit it off, man. We started lifting together. We started, we liked the same music. We went to different types of bars, and we just became really good friends. And, I was, lucky enough to get invited to his wedding, and, met his wife. And, it was just, he was a guy that I was fortunate enough to feel like he took me under his wing and said, hey, this is what I did at your age. These are the kind of the mistakes that I made, and this is kind of how I am where I am now. Let me help you kind of navigate through that. And it's crazy because, you think that you just meet these people and they come into your life for a minute and then they're out, right? But, that's not the case, with you and Carl and even Drew. Even though we catch up via Facebook, I get to, I play golf with Carl now. We recently reconnected. He's doing great with the fasting. And, he's doing the whole, Remax thing. And he was just at a time where he was still growing his business. It's not nearly what it is today. So it was cool to kind of watch his determination and see the different hats that he wears to get him to where he was. And that inspired me, man. I looked up to Carl and was like, dude, like that's awesome. How do you do this? And how do you do that? And, he'd give me some tips here and there. And he's a good friend. I always say this, I have certain people on my team. I'm lucky to have you on my team where if I, need some questions, I'm lucky to have Carl on my team. And, those are the people that, I might not talk to every day, but I keep close to the chest, and I respect, you and Drew and Carl's opinion very much to say, hey, what do you think about this? So it was such an impact on my life way back when. And, I still cherish it today. And, as you know, I'll reach out every now and then and say, hey, this is nuts. What do you think about this?
Yeah, and it is funny, man, how lives kind of intertwine like that and cross paths, and you never know where they're going to intersect again. And when you meet good friends, you kind of always stay connected, even if it's an invisible string. So let's tell the story, right? So when the reality TV thing, I don't know how many years you gave that, but eventually that kind of faded away.
Yeah.
Now,
Yep.
at that time, when that faded away, what were you doing as far as a career or a job? When you were still training, I believe, at the gym. But what were you doing for work? I don't even remember, to be honest with you, at that point, what you were doing.
Yeah. So just to kind of circle back, so I graduated college at Fairleigh Dickinson in Madison, New Jersey, and that was in 2007. So then, literally that summer, I lost my best friend to cancer in 2008. It was, and that was a big moment to just kind of, when I watched him go through all that, it really inspired me. It said, hey man, life is just way too short. Like you got to just take the bull by the horns and run with it, because you only get one shot. And, that got me into the whole acting thing. And because ironically, I joked, in high school was like that show Glee, right? Prior to it coming out, you could do sports and be in the drama at the same time. And I was really good at it. I love to make people laugh. And that's how I got into the acting. And so I had this whole goal of, I'm going to go out to California. I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to do reality television. I did a YouTube video. It got a bunch of hits. We did 3, pilots that never made it on. And then I went, boom, right out to California. And that was a trippy moment, because I remember standing in line for a casting call and being super insecure, because you're literally standing in line with 50 people that look like you. And you're like, oh my God, is this really how I am? This is horrible. And I hated the fakeness of it. And, I probably, to say it short, I think I was chasing the fame game, but I was so young that like I would be influenced by, what they had or what they could get or the money. And I was chasing fame more than I was chasing the craft. And I was very good at the craft. I mean, I got into a really prestigious acting school in New York City. Literally went to class with people that are on TV to this day, because it's kind of trippy now when I turn on the television. I'm like, oh, that person was in my class, or, oh, I did a monologue with her. So that's kind of the whole acting thing. And that's really when it kind of took a turn, when I kind of sat inside myself and said, hey, went internally in, which you helped me with, and said, this isn't what I want. I don't want the fame. I don't want that life. I want to help people. I want to make people laugh, but I want to make an impact in a better way. So when I came back from California, I found a company at a job fair. This company, UniFirst. I was there for 3 to 4 years. And that's really when I was at the gym with you guys. That's when I was just, selling, doing outside sales, crushing it, and learning, and getting into my, I guess, work shoes. And then I transitioned over to New York City for a really cool startup company called Bounty Jobs, and loved it, but I was bored. And I was very, very, very fortunate to make good money at the time. But as you and I both know, like you can make good money, but somebody could give you $1 million. But if you're not satisfied, or have that drive to kind of go out and say, okay, this is what I want, or that passion of what you want to do, the money's not worth anything. And that's kind of the lessons that I've learned, throughout the career, tying in the whole acting and the reality show stuff into my career, which obviously, led you and I to sit down and say, hey, Kyle, I'm miserable, dude. Like, what are we going to do here?
Yeah. So let's talk about what you remember from that conversation, because it's, there's been other people too that kind of they're doing well financially, young guy. It's easy to fall into the trap. Okay, I'm making X amount of money. I just stay with this. I can grunt it out. But something clicked inside of you, because at that point you were no longer training at the gym, but for some reason you reached out. What was it in your mind that said, wait a minute, I got to talk to somebody about this and something, this big shakeup I have to do with my life?
It was really this. I read a quote a while back that said, if you're going to do something different, why talk to the people that never done it? Talk to the person that stands out by themselves and has done it. And you and Carl and Drew, you guys did it. So, I've always respected how, you've always take this unorthodox approach to, hey, everybody goes left, you always go right. Right. And that's why I reached out, because I respect and honored your opinion. I said, well, if somebody's going to get where I'm at and somebody's going to get my mindset, it's going to be Kyle. And that's kind of, the reason why I reached out, because I needed something different. And we talk about it, the definition of insanity, like doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to live a life like this and just live for the weekends, work for 30 to 40 years, and then be lucky if I get another 20.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't remember even the exact, I remember the gist of our conversation, the vibe of it, but I don't remember the exact details. But I do know that whatever we talked about, you wound up taking action on.
Yeah.
And that's usually the hardest part for people. It's easy to talk about it and feel good. Oh, I talked about it, and then that's it. So what was that part like? Like, okay, now you took this conversation, you were still at Bounty Jobs, and now you leave and you start your own company. What was that like?
Yeah. So it was terrifying. It was, it was terrifying, but it was so gratifying at the same time, because I'll never forget. It was January 6th. I said, hey, this is it. I'm done. And they're like, oh, no, you could stay, whatever. I was like, listen, there's no amount of money. Like you'd be wasting your time. Like, I'm done, finito. That's it. I'm ready to rock. I'm going to go find myself and do my own thing. And I'll never forget that. I woke up on January 7th and was like, all right, let's go. I moved back home at the time. I had a desk in the basement of my parents' house. And then I just started making calls, and I was, I never second guessed myself, but I would always be like, I would second guess the path. Like, is this the right, or am I doing this right? Because as you know, when you're an entrepreneur, there's really no direction. I always say you're running in a hamster wheel over and over and over and over and over, but you got to figure out a way to get out of that hamster wheel, because that's really how you put the processes in play. And those are the different paths. And listen, I've made tons of mistakes. The first mistake I made was with my LLC. The person messed it up. I had to go get it redone. And, they had to charge me more money. And it was, a pain in the butt. And I had another mistake I made where the accountant was like, oh, you should be an S Corp, not an LLC. So I went up and opened up an S Corp. So you're spending all this money that nobody really tells you in the beginning. And then just slowly, man, I started getting my feet under me, like a boxer. You got to get your feet under you to kind of stay in the ground. And I always say this, I am so beyond determined that it's a gift and it's a crutch at the same time. Because if you tell me, hey, go run through that wall, I won't stop until I run through the wall. But there might be a better way to run through that wall than actually just ram it on, head on. And that's kind of how the business started. So I started S4 Search Partners, which you and I talked about. And when we were doing the mind mapping sessions, I remember you said, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I love helping people. And ironically, when we kind of pulled back the onion, it led to people calling me and saying, "Hey, I need a job. Hey, Randee, you know this person, I need a job. But hey, can you call this person?" And I just had a network organically in front of me. And the first contract I ever got was UniFirst. I called them up, still was friends with a regional VP out there, worked with him for several years. And when I was in New Jersey, and I said, "Hey, I started a recruiting business. Um, you guys need help?" And he's like, "Yeah, actually we do." And to Richard Branson's point, I say yes, and I figured out how to do it later. You know, and I just kept going, man. And first year, I went from making $120,000 to 40 grand, and basically went from Ubering, bartending, and starting a business. And I mean, the peaks and valleys of the, you know, depression would sink in, you know, the not going to the gym would sink in. But I always say this, I woke up broke on a Monday several times. But the difference between that and working for somebody else, I never woke up miserable. I woke up broke, but I never woke up miserable. And that's how I knew I was on the right path. And I remember there was a time I came to see you and you're like, "Dude, just, you know, set 45-minute time blocks. Go work for 2 to 3 hours and then take your motorcycle and go take a ride." And I was like, "I don't know, man. Like, that doesn't make sense to me." Because, like, when you're starting your own business, like, you got to work, 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 work. And you're like, "Yeah, but if you don't have the energy to work, or if the mind's not there, nothing's going to get completed." So to this day, I mean, I don't have the motorcycle, but I work in 45-minute increments and do the time blocks because it's so beneficial and so creative and really helps me get forward. So that's kind of, I know it's a little jam packed, but that's kind of how I got into the business. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And I got some questions on it, and it's inspiring because, first of all, you know, I do remember you would always come back. So we did a number of mind map sessions, you know, and they were spread out. But I remember you would come back in, you would have all your notes, like you would actually do the work. Okay, so a lot of people, right, they might do a mind map and that's it. Like I said, they don't do the work. So you'd come back with these pages of journals, and I did this. Okay, then it was easy. Okay, let's do this next. So you left January 6th, January 7th. You said you started making phone calls. So you had the idea for the recruiting business.
Yep.
Right. So you knew January 7th, I'm starting S4 Search Partners. So you just talk about this idea of making the phone calls. You didn't even know what you were doing, but who are you calling?
Oh man, I would just HR managers, director of businesses, CEOs. I would go on LinkedIn and I would just blindly call and I would stumble. I mean, if you probably hear my first call to now, you'd be like, "Oh," but I didn't care. I mean, I had nothing to lose. I mean, I already lost everything. I mean, not really. In hindsight, I already left the job. I already had that, you know, big mountain on your shoulders. And I can tell you this, and you know this, and I'm sure Carl would agree to it. When you leave something to go create your own, that I can't even describe that feeling. I mean, it is so refreshing and so gratifying to know, like, you have the world and you can, you know, excuse me, but you have the world by the balls. You can literally take it and do whatever you want. You get to carve your path. You know, why make somebody else rich on their dream when you can do it on your own? And that experience, what you learn from it, is, to me, way better than anything money can buy. But yeah, I would just literally call directors, CEOs, businesses. I'd go to my network, figure out who works for who, reach out to them, say, "Hey, I started a recruiting company. You guys hiring?" I mean, my motto was this: ring the register and move the chains daily.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that, you know, you led me to there with those lines. And that was my immediate goal: ring the register. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to ring the register and I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah, and that's it. You figured it out. And I think that as simple as it was, January 7th, I'm not saying easy, but simple to make those phone calls. There's a lot of lessons in that for people because, again, you didn't know what you were doing. You said, "I'm going to start taking action." You know, the Richard Branson line you spoke of, say yes, figure it out later. But most people, right, they get so paralyzed. Well, what am I going to say? Well, you just pick up the phone and you did it. And I'm sure you faced a lot of rejection, right? For people just blowing you off.
Yeah. I would say this, man, in my business, I lose more than I win every day. But it's the wins that, are always bigger than the losses in terms of, the gains. But I learn more. I like losing. I know that sounds crazy, but I love losing because I learn from the losses. If
Yeah.
you don't learn from your losses, you'll never gain the wins. And I learned so much from the losses, and
Yeah.
from you know doing things differently, or saying something differently, or approaching the situation. But you have to analyze the losses. It's crazy. I know it sounds counteractive to what people say. You got to win, win, win. But no, if losses are there for you to learn. If you don't learn from losses, then you really lost.
Yeah. And that's one of my favorite lines from my professor. You only lost if you don't know why you lost.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
I always go back to that. So talk about the business now. Tell everybody. So we talked about what you do, but just give it, because that was weaved into the other story. What does S4 Search Partners do? Like, what's your mission? And then let's talk about what the business looks like right now.
Yeah. So we are a full-time recruiting firm. The main mission of the business is to impact people in a positive way, to allow them to pursue their careers and do the career that's right for them, not just a job, right? If you're going to tell me you want a job, then please don't reach out, because I'm not that type of firm. We're a career changing type of company that allows you to find a career and grow, and mixes your passion with the career to allow you to really emulate and grow in your life. The business was really good, knock on wood. I ended up bringing on a partner, and he really helped, put the processes in place, and really we took the business to the next level together. And then underneath him, we have two full-time recruiters that work for us. Really cool story. The one recruiter is a younger gentleman. He's really good at what he does. And he used to be an IT recruiter. And I said to him, man, you're a sales guy. Why are you recruiting IT? And it was cool because I saw his hunger like it was in my eyes years ago prior to starting the business. And he took the jump and he's doing really well. And then we have another woman that used to recruit for bus drivers out of South Carolina. And I call her the Terminator. She is the nicest woman on the outside, but man, she is hungry and she will go after it. And she has some great motivations, and she's inspiring to work with as well. So we have 4 people now working for S4 Search Partners. Prior to the pandemic, we had 2 more, but they were sourcers. So it just, obviously with everything going on and the way we pivoted, it didn't make sense to utilize that anymore. So we have, 4 great people that work for us. I am out of my parents' basement, and it's cool. I'm not as hands-on as I used to be, which was a lesson I had to learn throughout the years. That was very hard for me, because I always wanted to kind of have that Randee feel on everything. But it's great. I mean, I wake up and I get to live my life. I get to, grow and work with a team that I absolutely love and adore. And we've talked to so many thousands of people over the last 5 years, and placed so many people that, nothing's better than saying, hey, thank you for taking the time to speak with me. You really, changed my perspective on something, or, you're actually a recruiter that cares about me and not about the money. So, we're growing rapidly right now, and, we have a really good team. We're still obviously doing business development. We're adapting to the times, but, the future is really bright for us. And it's funny, I still wake up and feel like my back's against the wall, right? That I can lose it all tomorrow. And that's the drive, I think, that gets me every day, to just get up and say, okay, where do we go from here? And I love it. I mean, my fiance will tell you I work a lot. I mean, I'm on vacation, I'm working, I'm taking calls, I'm 11 o'clock at night, I'm working, but I love it. And it's truly cliche, but if you love something, you're never working. If you love it so much, you're never working. And that's kind of where we are. So we have 4 solid people, and we're growing, and it's an exciting time.
And for those people out there, so we know who can utilize your services. Are you working with the employee, the employer, or are you working with both? Like if I came to you, let's say I'm just looking for a job. Hey, Randee, can you find me something in fitness? Is that something you do, or are you going more to the company trying to find employees for them?
So we go more to the company. So we really focus on the industrial service aspect of it. So, companies like UPS or FedEx or,
Gotcha.
Cintas, Aramark, UniFirst, that type of industry where, we really are a sales specific type of role where you're doing sales. We do a lot of CDL drivers. We do a lot of route drivers. It's those type of industries. I have a bunch of people that come to me and say, "Hey, Randee, I need a job. Can you help me?" And I always take the call because if I can't help you, I'll refer you to somebody that can. But majority of the time we go to the companies and say, "Hey, where do you need your help with?" And our sweet spot is that industrial service space. And right now with COVID and everything, there's such a high demand with that. So, we've been blessed to be really busy right now.
So that's great to hear. So you go to these companies, industrial service type companies, and then let's say, hey, we need 2 drivers. Where do you even begin looking for the drivers? Is there a website you go, like, how does this work?
So great question. So we build a network, right? So we utilize LinkedIn, and the number one lesson here, if whoever's listening, is LinkedIn is such a big aspect of where your next career is because you have to look at LinkedIn as a brand, right? You yourself as a brand. So you should brand yourself on LinkedIn because, agencies like myself and really other good recruiters, they're on LinkedIn. They're going after those type of peoples. And that's who we look for. We utilize the LinkedIn services. We utilize our network. We've been blessed enough to create a very big network of these individuals throughout the years of just working with people. And, we reach out, we utilize the networks, we utilize LinkedIn, we utilize different applications to go and find that right person for the job. But I could tell everybody now, if you're not on LinkedIn, you need to get on LinkedIn because that is your digital resume. Times have changed. LinkedIn is your brand. And if you're looking for something or you want to make a career change, if you're not on LinkedIn, that's a big mistake. You got to get on there.
Perfect, man. And I'll make sure, put that in the notes. So people are going to get a lot out of this. First of all, the inspiration, and also the technical way that you've built a business, and also for people that are looking for jobs or looking for employees. Before we get to getting your information where people can get in touch with you, I want to ask you a couple final questions.
Yeah.
What's your favorite all-time book that had an impact on you?
Oof. Oh man. Good question. That's a tough one, man.
First thing that jumps to your gut.
Well, that's funny. The first thing that jumps to my gut is the book title that I'm gonna write.
Oh yeah? What is it?
Yeah, which is When the Entire World Goes Left, You Always Go Right.
Nice. I like it, man.
Thank you. Oh man, that's a tough one. Let me show you. Can I show you it? Can I show you the book? So
yeah, go ahead.
It's an easy ploy. So this is one of the best book that I think I've ever read.
Who says you can't? I've never read that.
So Daniel Shidak, I probably butchered his last name. This was my fiance at the time gave me this book when I was, obviously going to transition and probably in a dark time where it was, up and down and looking at things. But one of my favorite books. I mean, who says you can't? You do. And the biggest thing I've learned from that book is at the end of the day, you have every power inside of you. I mean, and you've taught me this too, this is the most powerful machine in the world. So, if I'm going to sit here and be like, oh, negative, 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 I can't do this, I can't lose weight, I can't start a business, I can't, that's all negative self-talk, right? But if I say, hey, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to have 4 people work for me, I'm going to, write down every day my goals long-term and say, I can be on the best, fitness possible, I can grow, a business, I can go start another venture. It's all positive self-talk. And that's what that book taught me. And really just kind of helps you do it. And to your point, by the way, the mind mapping thing, I still do it to this day when I get overwhelmed, is the mind dump. That was a great lesson you taught me to kudos to you for that, 15, 20-minute mind dump. So if everybody's out there, if you're stressed, just take 15 minutes and write down whatever comes in your head.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And that's a simple thing that, again, you tell people, it's like, they just kind of brush it off. And it's like, all right, well, just keep struggling then. You know, but
Yeah,
that's
no, dude.
all.
I do the mind. I do the mind dump to this day. I mean, if it's Sunday night and I'm overwhelmed about a Monday, I'll literally. It's phenomenal.
It's great, man. It just opens up a lot of headspace. I'm gonna
Yep.
have to check that book out. Now, how about 5 years from now? What do you envision for your life?
Yeah. So 5 years from now, I'll obviously, hopefully, be married. Finally, dude.
You better be.
So what obviously we'll have a house. Most likely have another property, and we'll have two kids, maybe three. The business will be still up and running and self-sufficient at that point, and I'll probably start an additional venture because I can never sit still. So that's kind of where I envision it. But definitely more of the real estate side, more of additional properties going on and additional money. The biggest thing I'm learning over the last couple of years and is, you could have money obviously work for you while you're working on other aspects. So really just kind of, work with the people around me to kind of put that fence up to protect my foundation a lot, even more than it is now.
Yeah, good, man. If you can picture it, it's going to happen. So you know that. You've already done it.
Yep.
And last one, if you could go back to when you were 20 years old, what would you tell the 20-year-old Randee?
Oh, save money, dude.
Hey, that's good.
Save money. That would be the first thing, but then I wouldn't tell him anything else. I'd say, go live your life the way you did. Because those experiences and those things that I did in life at 20 years old grew me to who I am today. And it really helped mold me into the person I am. And I honestly, truly have no regrets. I have no regrets. I moved out to California. I lived in New York. I've been able to go across the world. And I've spent a lot of money that I didn't have, but it taught me and it molded me into who I am today. So I'd say save money, but live life the way you did, because those experiences and meeting so many people and doing so many things you can't do that when you get older. You really can't. It gets harder. So
It does.
It's been
Good,
cool to
man.
do a lot of that.
That's great advice. And, I always love asking that question because, there are all going to be younger people that listen to this. Maybe they'll pick something up like that where it's simple, save money, but then go learn, make the mistakes you got to make. And then, again, you don't lose unless the only reason you lost is if you don't know why you lost. So right on, man. How can people get in touch with you, Randee? What's the best way for them to check out S4 Search Partners? What's the best way if they have questions for you personally? How do you want them to reach out to you?
Yeah. So listen, feel free to call me. Call me at 732-991-7625. I'll always pick up, and then check us out at s4searchpartners.com. And then you can look at me up on LinkedIn, and, we'll get in touch, or, call Kyle and Kyle will give you my number.
Cool, man. Awesome. Well, listen, man, this has been a great pleasure, man. It's been inspiring hearing your story. I've kind of gotten to be a part of it, but it's still inspiring to hear because it's, especially with the times we're living in now, man, people need some inspiration.
Yeah, I
Good
appreciate
job.
it, man. Thank you. It's been an honor. I mean, when you asked me to do this, I was like a kid in the candy store. I was honored. I really was. So
Cool, man.
it means a lot, and you've made a huge impact in my life, and I truly do appreciate it, and I'm grateful for you and our friendship.
Yeah, man. Well, right on. It's going to continue, man. It's going to continue.
Thank you.
So let me just bring this to